Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Paperweight Entertainment Podcast, your home for all things Marvel, DC, Star Wars, and so much more. Join Derek and Ian as they tell tales to astonish along this journey into mystery. Grab some snacks and settle in because Paperweight Entertainment starts now. Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Paperweight Entertainment Podcast. It has been over a month since we had a chance to hop on here because if you've not been paying attention, we bought a theater and it's been incredibly stressful. Rewarding, fun, incredibly stressful, and it's taken up all of our time. But we're finally back and we're going to talk about the second half of X-Men 97 that we started at the beginning of May. The beginning of May. That was the word I was looking for. But so bear with us. It's been a hot minute since we've done this.
We are also recording at midnight.
Yeah, it's late. It's late for us. It's the only time that we had available. And that soothing voice that you just heard is none other than the one, the only, the beautiful, the glue, my good friend and yours, Mr. Ian Torrance. Ian, thank God you're back, buddy. How you doing?
Man, for somebody who's mentally and physically exhausted, I'm not doing too bad, Derek. I'm not doing too bad at all. I'm pretty lively right now, but we'll give it 10 more minutes. I'm sure I'll be fucking crashed out over here.
Yeah.
See,
same.
I'm already letting the F-bombs fly because I forgot where I was.
It's fine. Anybody that listens or watches the show, which since we bought the theater and we've been using a lot of Paperweight Entertainment's social media for the theater promotion, had a whole lot more listeners.
Yeah.
I think people think that they're going to get information about the theater and like what's showing, which, by the way, if you're in the Southern Indiana area and you want to check out a movie, Inside Out 2 drops today as we record this. Come and check it out. Bring your kids. Play in our incredible arcade. Follow us on TikTok. We do have an arcade.
And also don't come to the show for updates on the theater.
Yeah.
Just kidding. We're going to do that. We should do that.
We really should. That's a good idea. We're coming up with this as we go along.
Wait, what we should do is like at the beginning say that we're going to like do updates and wait to the very end and then give the updates. All right.
Oh, you're going to get your update, but you got to pay.
Attention. But I am well with all things considered. We're recording late because I was actually at the theater, because when you buy an older theater, everything goes to shit really fast, and you got to be over there, and you got to maintain things on top of maintaining your original 40-hour job.
40 hours. What's that?
I say 40. Well, no, that job is actually 40.
Yeah, you actually do have like a 9 to 5.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice, but then my other job that I don't get paid for, that I work full time at. Okay, that's not true. I'm being dramatic again. Anyway, I digress. What I was going to say is, we've been so busy that another reason we hadn't got on is because it was taking me a while to get through this show.
Mm-hmm.
We are here tonight because I have gotten through it. Yay! Not because it was painful, not because it was bad, or I was just like, oh, let's get this over with. I didn't have time between everything I had going on in my life and trying to sleep in between doing everything that I had going on. So I am excited to talk about this with you. And we discussed a little bit before, so we didn't get too much into the meat and potatoes. So I'm really excited to answer some of your questions that I know you're going to ask me here soon, that I haven't rehearsed because I forgot what they even were.
That's fair. I don't have them written down or anything. We're going to go real off the cuff here.
That's fine.
So for those of you that were paying attention, that are actually following along at home, we talked about the first 4 episodes of X-Men 97. For those that don't remember, I loved them very much. Ian liked them a fair amount. He had a few more qualms than I did, and that's probably going to shine through at the end of this series. I will say we'll pick up from episode 5 and just kind of talk about the rest of the season, talk about the season as a whole, since it came out so long ago. I haven't done a rewatch of it or anything like that, and so it might be a little jumping around. We'll probably hit some of the things from the first couple of episodes as well. But so starting off, I do want to talk about episode 5 because I've been wanting to talk about this episode since it aired. For anybody that doesn't know, I'm a huge fan of Gambit. and that episode really broke me. Like, absolutely broke me. It was great. The action was fantastic, and the name's Gambit. Ian, remember it.
Remember it.
Did you get did you get choked up at all during that?
Listen, I I am a big Gambit fan. I don't know probably as much as you do about it, but I do enjoy me some Gambit. I always have via the I had to turn off my ringer. I just noticed it was on because if somebody would happen to call me at midnight, I doubt they would. You're gonna hear Fantasy by Mariah Carey blaring really loud. I'm not joking. That is my ringtone. So Gambit was a huge part of the 90s show for me, and I loved picking Gambit in the X-Men 2 game that I used to play on Sega Genesis. So I do like me some Gambit, man. He's a fan favorite, I feel like, amongst people. He's definitely a fan favorite amongst us. Now, for those of you that don't know, my overall favorite, not just from the cartoon, but in everything, would be Cyclops.
Boo.
He was
amazing in the show. He was great in the show.
A lot of people did him right. A lot of people get turned off by Cyclops because, listen, to me, that man is a leader, and he does not give a damn about your feelings.
That's fair.
He does what's best for his team, his family, and he will not put anybody in harm's way. Okay, for the most part.
For the most part, he
never has.
Unless it comes to like saying goodbye to his son and making sure.
But if you read X-Men versus the Avengers,
yeah,
he is a fucking asshole in that comic.
Yeah,
and I feel like he had a good reason to be, but he was definitely not budging on his beliefs.
Right.
Like, she's a mutant, she stays here with us. Yeah, but we really need to, like, it's very important. Yep, nope, agreed. She's not leaving.
Right. Well, and
it was that monotone too, even though it was comics.
And they did something also, and they did the same thing they did in Civil War, where they came out ahead of time and they were just like, okay, well, we're going to show both sides of this conflict. We're going to let you know, if you love the X-Men, they're not going to be the bad guys. And then they just straight up made Cyclops the villain. Now, granted, he was being possessed by the Phoenix Force. He was doing some villainous things, so I understand. But they did do the same thing in Civil War. They came out before that.
Was he possessed at the very beginning of that, though?
No. It was not.
I was going to say,
so he was a jerk.
He was kind of a jerk at the beginning.
He was a jerk at the beginning, but then he was like straight up villainous when he was.
And I agree, but again, I don't blame that. I agree with you. That's not Cyclops' fault. He's being possessed. That's fine. I don't think what he was doing was being a bad person or a villain or anything. I just think he was just a dick.
He was, and my problem.
And he
was
in this cartoon too.
My problem with that was I don't think Cyclops has ever been that character before then. He's always been, and granted, I have not read every X-Men run. Cyclops is not one of my favorite characters. The X-Men's not even one of my favorite teams in all of comics. So I don't have a really well-versed knowledge of the X-Men in comics. I understand who they are. I get the core team and all that, but Cyclops never came off as like that much of a jerk to me. And originally, like when I used to read him in the 90s, he was, like you said, he was straight laced. He was the Boy Scout. He was the one that was going to do whatever he wanted for his team. But after Avengers versus X-Men, they kept that going for a long time with Cyclops to now. He's still kind of like that, where he's got his reasons for it, but man, is he a jerk to everyone.
You and I kind of talked about this before. The X-Men I love, I really do. So what I'm about to say is probably going to be controversial, yet so brave. The X-Men, they actually don't make any sense in the comic world, or as characters in general. And before you hit stop on this or you guys leave, hear me out. The reason Derek and I said that they didn't make sense in our private conversation was because I said humanity is so against mutants, and that is an important storyline. I get what they're going for, and I get that they were different times back then when they wrote this story.
Right.
My issue is that they exist in the same world as the Avengers and everybody else. Essentially, that's a superhero. Nobody else is alienated the way that they alienate mutants.
Right.
So it's just baffling to me about how like a mutant could come in and save humanity from something and then be like, get out of here, you dirty mutant. But nobody says that to a Spider-Man or a
Right.
Daredevil, or unless you're J. Jonah Jameson.
I was gonna say,
But
to be fair, Spider-Man did have his fair share of like uh vitriol early on, but they toned that down. It's not
yeah,
like a core tenet or a
but
core
again,
part of his story.
it wasn't citywide. It wasn't the whole like the whole town. They
Right.
didn't have Senate press conferences
Nobody was. There
against.
were huge protests every time anything
No,
happened.
no, and it's just like, oh, thanks for saving me, Spider-Man. Except for that one guy, you stole that guy's pizzas.
Well,
But
that and what was his name? Oh my God, the comedian that was in the first Raimi Spider-Man. I think he stinks, and I don't like him. I can't remember the comedian's name, Jim something or other. But anyway, go on. That's the one that I always think about.
I can't remember that. So anyway, I'm drawing a blank on that. But
That's
anyway,
okay.
the point like that we were making was they just don't make like nobody scrutinizes anybody else for what they do.
Right.
And if if a Cyclops shows up with laser eyes, everybody's like, "Oh, he's a mutant." But again, if somebody else shows up, like Captain Marvel, nobody's like, "Mutant." Like, how
Mm-hmm.
do they know that that specifically is a mutant, but Spider-Man isn't?
Yeah, and that's
You don't know.
so the long running excuse for that, which I understand, is that well, people are just jealous because they don't like it because it's a jump in evolution. It makes them feel inferior, which I get. But the Fantastic Four are technically mutants as well. They were
But wouldn't
mutated by
anybody?
cosmic
Yeah,
rays.
but that's
Why
what
aren't they
that.
treated the same way?
There's that, but I'm saying like anybody with powers wouldn't that be the same thing? Like,
I
oh, well,
know.
like
Yeah.
they have godlike powers, like Captain America, who was chosen for a super
Mhm.
soldier program. Nobody's super pissed at him and being like, well, how come I can't be
Yeah.
injected with this and do this and this and this and this? Nobody.
No,
No,
and I
no,
agree with
well,
you.
Incredible Hulk. How come I can't have a game of radiation? Well,
Right.
first of all, because he should have died,
Yeah, he
obviously.
should have died. But I do agree. I think it's a little silly. I understand, and I think it's important that they have to keep doing that because of what the X-Men mean to all marginalized communities. Like the X-Men is that book and that series and that grouping of
Yeah.
characters is so important to anyone who's ever felt like they were not accepted for who they were simply because of what they looked like or how they were born or something they couldn't control. It's too important to ever change, but it does get a little silly when you've got like the Unity Squad from Uncanny Avengers, where Captain America is getting a group of Avengers and X-Men or mutants just in general together on a team to show everybody we're all the same. We're doing it's like, yeah, you literally are. You're all superheroes. You're working towards the same goal. Just because one got their powers because they have a mutated gene and the other one got their powers because they got a super soldier serum in World War II.
Yeah,
Why are we fighting over that?
you're still mutating. Yes,
Can I help
your
you, Sam?
genes.
Are you seeing this? Can I help you?
Where did he come from?
So, for those of you just listening, my wife got tired of the dog apparently being loud in the hallway while she's trying to get the kids to bed, and so he's just out here and now bothering me. So, if you want to see my adorable puppy, check us out on YouTube. So, anyway, back to what you were saying. You were talking about Cyclops. That's where we started on that. Um, so, if you wanted to continue with the X-Men bashing and how much you hate them, then that's great. But if not, we can continue. You heard it here first. Ian thinks the X-Men are stupid and he doesn't understand
Stupid.
why they're hated. It's dumb. He doesn't like it. He thinks
No,
that
I
they're
just yeah, I get what you're saying, like from a reader's perspective, as
right.
why it's important to keep that going. But I'm just saying, like, it didn't
Story
make sense
wise.
how they're just
Yeah.
like, I don't like them dirty mutants. But what's up, Cap? Saved my life.
Right.
And like, if I'm being massacred, like, or about to be massacred, I don't give a damn about your mutation.
Right.
Fucking help me.
Yeah, I don't care who
Help.
shows up. I don't care if it's one of the cool ones or not. I'll take anybody.
Yeah, I don't want your help. I would never leave my lips.
Get
Don't
out.
leave. Please help me.
Go get me Captain America.
Yeah.
I want Captain America over here.
No, don't save me. Let me die.
Oh my God. All right. So Yeah, we were talking about Gambit. You were talking about Cyclops being your favorite. Gambit's not my favorite. For a long time, he was. Beast is actually my favorite X-Man. With Gambit just right behind him. So yeah, episode 5 made me so sad, so sad. However, he's coming back, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters. So let's talk series overall. We don't need to break these down by episodes because it was so long ago. Let's just talk series overall. What did you think about this as a continuation of the X-Men animated series? And also, what did you think about it as just its own show, as if it was stand alone from that? So in like both of those two different ways, what did you think about it in context of the original? And then what did you think of it as its own entity? And can you think of it separately?
Okay, so overall, as a whole, I didn't mind it. I think it's very, in my opinion, it was very up and down per episode. There were you mentioned before that I liked it, didn't love it. That's because to me, there were really good episodes, and then there were fillers, and then there were okay ones. I felt like that kind of continued, but I mentioned to you the other day that no matter how I feel about this show, each episode had some amazing, well, not each episode, but a few of the episodes had some amazing like
Mhm.
one-liners. And I don't remember any off the top of my head. I quoted them to you the other day. And then there were some bad ones, some cheesy ones, and I told you about the Professor X one that really got me.
Oh yeah.
No!
No, my
They were supposed to be
children.
drinking wine and dancing and making love. I was like, what a weird thing to say about your
Children.
children.
Also, can I just say about that line? He knew the state of the world when he left.
I know.
Like so that episode I really enjoyed. Like I didn't care. I've never
That
cared
was
about
the
the
only part
Shi'ar.
that I didn't like about it was
I've
just
never
that
cared about the
line.
Shi'ar. I'm never interested when they show up. I think that of all of the alien races that the Marvel universe gets into, like constantly, you got the Shi'ar, you got the Kree, the Skrull, all of those races that you see frequently. I think the Shi'ar are the most uninteresting. I don't care about them. Lilandra, I don't care. I just don't. It's not my cup of tea, even though I love the Marvel Cosmic Universe.
You love tea.
Um, so I'm not big on that. So I didn't care about that episode. However, I love Professor X finally being like, all right, look, I'm done playing your games. Here's what we're gonna do. And he puts them in an astral classroom and just eating an apple. I love that scene. I think it was great. But his freaking out and being surprised that bad things were happening on Earth while he's hanging out with his sexy lady in space,
Hmm.
a little ridiculous.
Hmm.
Like for a fact Magneto is still there. You know for a fact that Senator Kelly, that Bolivar Trask, that Henry Gyrich, who shot you in the last episode, all these people are still there. You know that the world still hates and fears mutants. Why are you all of a sudden surprised that they're not just drinking wine and making love? Of course they're not. They're in a world where they're constantly at war with everyone, with other mutants and with humans, always.
And
Why are you surprised?
he spent how many years battling Magneto? And he just was like, "Oh, by the way, I think I'm going to take off for a while. Could you watch them for me?" Why would you have this man babysit your kids?
Why would your dad?
Why would your dad?
The only reason I didn't mind that is because I
That man
can
can't be
see.
trusted.
No, he can't be trusted, but I do see why Professor X did it. I can see his reasoning behind it, but you would think he'd have some safeguards in place. Like, don't leave everything to Magneto. Leave a
Mm,
couple things to him. Leave him the house. Maybe just
mm,
the upper levels of the mansion, not the basement where all the cool stuff is. But
no.
but I do, because that has happened before where Magneto has been in charge of the X-Men. There have been some great storylines in the comics. Age of Apocalypse is amazing, where
Mm,
Magneto takes over the X-Men after Professor X is killed. So I didn't hate that, but I did think in the comics that works because we can have years of storyline leading up to it. In this animated series, which is a continuation of the previous animated series, I don't know why you would think that Magneto would all of a sudden be okay and want to be a good guy and take care of the X-Men. So I
yeah.
did think that was a little silly that he
Mm,
decided to do that. Although it led to some awesome scenes, and Magneto was the standout character in this show, in my
yeah.
opinion.
another gripe of mine. It's a small one, and it's a personal gripe. The use of the name Magnus was
We talked
overused.
about that. Oh my God.
It was not necessary. Magnus. He called him that maximum 2 to 3 times maybe in the original series, and in this one he did it what 6 to 10 times per
Every
episode.
episode. And I get it. Like Magnus is one of his names, but it just seems so silly.
Yeah, but to do that now again, if it's something else, like you're starting anew, that's fine. But if it was a different series, it's fine. But if you're continuing from the original series and you never did it before, and not only continuing, but it's not 10 to 20 years later, it's like 6 to 8 weeks later. So again, that time frame is not accurate. But point being is like you go from calling him Eric this entire time to Magnus.
And I mean, to your credit, to your point, he did call him Magnus a little bit
He did.
in the original
He
series. He
did.
did. But the fact that he called him Magnus constantly and was using that name in the final episode to break through his psyche and get him to realize who he is. I don't know. Maybe, like I said, I'm not an expert on X-Men, so maybe there is something there that I just am missing, and that is something that Charles would have said to get him to understand who he is instead of calling him Eric. So I don't know, but it was weird. It felt really weird, and also just on a personal preference, I just don't like the name Magnus for Magneto. Like, call him Eric is more, I don't know, maybe more human. Not that the name Magnus isn't, but the fact that it's so close to Magneto when you're trying to humanize him and
We've
make
got
him
somebody like in Germany that's named Magnus. Like, how dare you?
We actually have a fair amount of listeners in Germany, so in all
we
honesty,
won't anymore after I just made that terrible.
I'm not talking
impression
bad about Magnus, but I just think that if you're trying to appeal to someone's humanity, maybe don't call them the name that sounds the most like their villain name. Maybe not. Maybe the professor's just an idiot, and I don't know what I'm talking about. You never know. But so as far as the show goes, we can jump to what did you think about Bastion, by the way?
I thought he was very creepy.
Villain. I think they did a great job with him.
I did too.
I really like. Well, Bastion in the comics is creepy. Did you read any of that storyline where Bastion was? It was the lead up to when Hope was a baby. That was leading into. Oh God, what was that called? I don't remember what the name of the storyline was. I was really freaking out through the entire thing. Every time that Nightcrawler was on screen and Bastion was anywhere around, I was really, really concerned we were going to lose another character because in that storyline, Bastion kills not Cyclops. He kills Nightcrawler. And I was like,
who I love in this series, by the way.
Please, Nightcrawler is fantastic in this. He was so good. I loved having him in there, and the fact that he got a lot more to do in this after Gambit died. He kind of stepped into that role of the fun, cool character that got to say some fun things. So he was great, but I really enjoyed Bastion. I think that he was creepy. I liked his plot, his ploy. It was sufficiently difficult for them to deal with and disturbing. So the last thing I'll ask about with Bastion, did you agree with Cyclops trying to reason with him at the end?
Yeah, it caught me off guard.
Yeah, same.
I wasn't expecting that. The way he went about it too, when everybody was just like, and you could tell they're all gearing up for this.
Sorry about that weird technical difficulty glitch there, Ian. You were talking about Bastion, how they were all gearing up.
They were gearing up and ready for a big battle, and Cyclops just tells them to stand down and tries to appeal with Bastion's more human side, or his human side, his mutant side.
Right.
Or humans and mutants the same thing. I don't know. He was trying to appeal to the side that wasn't a raging cyborg. How about that?
Yeah.
That helped. All right. So I thought that was and again, this just goes back to the whole like he is a good leader.
Yeah.
For the most part, I think. And I think that was a smart decision instead of trying to like beat him to death and risk losing another member of the family. Like, man, we're not going to fight you. What are we doing? Why are we doing this?
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it too. I really did. I think that it really spoke to his character. And that's one thing that I really liked about this series is Cyclops has not gotten his due in a long time. And he felt like a leader. He felt like a powerful leader. He felt like a tactical leader. He was smart. He was overly emotional at times, but he was going through some crazy stuff with Jean and Madeline and all that. So it was all good. But I really liked that as well. I thought it was and another thing is they all got their chance to shine. Like Rogue beating down Bastion and like knocking him into like the blue area of the moon and just tearing him up was awesome. Nightcrawler with the two sabers and then the one in his tail was amazing. Beast hot wiring the Sentinels to get them back to Earth was fantastic. Cyclops having that moment of not fighting when he could have. Even Sunspot and Jubilee having their time to shine. They really did a good job of showing this team fighting together and working together, and we're able to throw in a lot of character development and a lot of emotional beats, like Morph turning into Jean, telling Wolverine that she loves him when Wolverine is out after having all the adamantium ripped out, which we didn't even discuss. Wolverine lost his adamantium in this. There were a lot of great emotional beats, and even Cyclops taking that moment and telling Logan to pull through. Like you can't die. We need you. The team needs you. She needs you. Everything that he said, I think, was really great. So that was the other thing that really impressed me about this show is not only was the action great, I thought it was a fantastic story, and the emotional beats were there. Everything that you want in an X-Men story. And it all led up to incredible ending.
Also, I feel like that adamantium being ripped out of him would have been very painful, but it was liquidized.
Right.
So it wasn't ever attached to any of his bones or his flesh or anything. I'm not saying it wouldn't be painful, but I feel like he's had a lot worse. So like, come on, dude, you got a healing factor. Get your ass up. At this point, I think he's just being lazy. I think he's faking it.
I think he probably is. You know how I feel about Wolverine.
That's true.
He's worthless to begin with. I'll say it right into the camera. Wolverine's the worst X-Men. I would take Maggot over Wolverine. And Maggot literally is just a dude that has two giant maggots that come out of his stomach. Wolverine's stupid. He's a worthless character, except for Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman is an international delight, and I actually love when he plays Wolverine. I hate so much that he's so good because I don't care about Wolverine at all, but I love Hugh Jackman. I'm so sad that he'll never play Wolverine again after Deadpool and Wolverine. I miss him already.
Well, I always say, and I try to bring logic into these. None of it would make sense to begin with, but I always like getting under people's skin about certain things because just to have fun. I don't mean to be an asshole. I just like to have fun. But I'm just like, that stuff's not binded to his bones, and so like if he did actually take that and go to cut something, wouldn't it rip out of his flesh?
But is it
just to be an asshole? Because like,
but if you
look. It's not bonded to his bones. No, that's what I'm saying.
It's just kind of encasing them. Is that what you're saying?
But that's what I'm saying. Like the adamantium goes in between his bones, is why it comes out of those three spots at his knuckles, right?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, like, if he was to do that, like his skin wouldn't be able to hold that weight.
Yeah,
so it would just rip out of his hand. And again, by that same logic, flying wouldn't make any sense either. Because how could you all of a sudden just change gravity without doing anything other than thinking it?
Wolverine thinks that motorcycles are made out of glass tubes. So
glass tubes. You think that they're made of glass tubes?
Oh, Pete Holmes.
It's a Pete Holmes reference in case you guys don't listen to Pete Holmes.
So fantastic.
You're missing out. He is a treasure. His stand-up is amazing. You will definitely know him from the College Humor, the Badman skits, the firing the X-Men, the firing the Justice League. But listen to his actual stand-up. He's so funny. Really funny.
So amazing.
And his show should. I've seen a lot of shows that are still on air that I'm just like, Pete Holmes' show was way better than this.
Yeah, his late night show was amazing. I never got to see Crashing, the show he did on HBO, which was kind of somewhat autobiographical. He's also got a great podcast. Go listen to that. Don't listen to us. This podcast is called You Made It Weird.
I haven't listened to that.
They're 3.5 hours long. He always has a celebrity guest, and he gets into real deep, weird conversations. Like he always asks them if they believe in God and like what they think happens after we die. It's all really, really intense conversation, but funny because he's hilarious.
He's Pete Holmes.
Yeah. So X-Men 97, I loved it. I loved the end of it. I can't wait to see what happens with Apocalypse. The fact that we got uh the tease of Gambit coming back as the Horseman of Death like he was in the comics, which if you haven't read those early 2000s is what I was trying to say. X-Men comics where Gambit was the Horseman of Death. Charcoal black skin, white hair, it looks so freaking cool. Excellent run of stories. So the idea that the X-Men are split throughout time, Apocalypse is going to bring Gambit back as the Horseman of Death. I can't wait to see what happens. Is Mr. Sinister going to come back? Is Bastion going to be a problem? I don't know, but I can't wait to see what they do with it. Ian, are you excited for season 2? Because they did already confirm that they're doing it. Are you going to be excited after not loving this show as much as I did?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Don't get me wrong. I did enjoy the show. I had certain aspects that I didn't like, but I had a lot that I did. Um, I wish it would have been more like the original show with the animation. I didn't hate this animation, but it was a lot more anime and even like the dialogue and stuff was very anime. There's nothing wrong with anime, but I just at times thought it kind of clashed because there was very much elements of the original show. So I'm just like you're taking two worlds and crashing them into each other, and I don't know how to process that. That's just me personally. There's nothing wrong with it. I will never look at somebody for liking the show and be like, I understand how you like that. It is enjoyable. For the most part, I did enjoy the series. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for season 2. I think it's funny to call it a season 2. Because the cliffhanger at the end, reintroducing Apocalypse and them all being trapped in their respective like timelines and stuff like that, I thought was really neat. And it was a very, very good cliffhanger for the season. So I thought that was really awesome.
And Bishop came back at the end of this, which is a character again that I really don't care for from the comics. That I didn't hate in this series. So
I thought he was much more enjoyable than the original 97 series.
Yeah. Poor Bishop with that mullet.
I call it the 97 series, but yeah.
Yeah. That mullet.
I still have that action figure.
Yeah.
Cartoon.
Never cared for Bishop. I was always a Cable guy when it came to time traveling X-Men. Cable was my jam. So I loved him in this. So anyway, I loved X-Men 97. Ian liked it a lot. The one last thing I want to talk about, because we're going a little longer than I expected to, and Ian is tired, and somehow I'm still awake, is if you are to go on to Disney Plus and go to the Marvel tab, the first place you're going to see X-Men 97 is not the Marvel Animation tab, which is great, by the way. They've opened up Marvel Animation as its own little branch of the studio. I think that's really cool. I'm excited that they're doing that. And a Marvel TV is back. Marvel Television is back. That's nice. I like the changes that they're making over there and the distinct sections and categories. That's a conversation for another time. But the first time that you see it is on a list of the MCU multiverse saga. X-Men 97 is listed as one of the titles in the multiverse saga, showing that once again, all of the things that we have seen in the past, present, and future are going to be coming under one banner of the MCU. And I think that that's great, but I'm also curious, are we going to see any of this? And one thing that Ian and I talked about when it comes to live action X-Men and whether we'll see any of this is the post-credit scene of the Marvels, the X mansion that Monica is in, the beast that she meets, is that the X-Men Fox movies beast, just with a little bit different because it's Kelsey Grammer? Is it a completely new X-Men and X Mansion and all that? Is it a completely new thing? Or are we seeing a live action version of the X-Men 97 characters? So Ian, what do you think? Do you think it's going to be Fox X-Men, something new, or could we see the X-Men 97 characters make that jump to live action?
I'm going to go really weird here. I think it could be a combination of both.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be the Fox X-Men But I also think that they could be incorporating the cartoon into that as well somehow. I don't have any ideas as to why. The reason I'm saying that is because we got to see at the end of Spider-Man, well, a few different things there. We got to see Venom, the Tom Hardy Venom, in a Fox and a Sony movie, and vice versa, and them combining all that together. So I think, sorry, I'm very tired.
I know, buddy. We're almost done.
I think that it could potentially still be from that original Fox trilogy, which I think would be cool. But at the same time, like, I mean, it may not be necessarily that. But, well, here's why. Here's the thing. We've got the Fox trilogy, right? That we keep referencing right now. But like the Days of Futures Past and um what it was First Class,
First
Days of Futures
Class.
Past, and then
Then it was
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse, and then Dark Phoenix.
Now they're all from the same universe,
Technically, yeah.
and it's the same people playing those same characters.
Yep.
But that's also not the actual like Fox, right? It was what they were trying to like make us believe is like, oh no, they're different. It's just like, but they're
Right.
not. They're not. But weirdly, it worked. Now I don't think they're great movies, but it didn't fuck anything up, in my opinion, with those characters. So I think that they could be doing a swerve like that to where it is kind of somehow both. That
Right.
they're incorporating the cartoon as a version of the Fox version, meaning like Kelsey Grammer, you said, is still playing Beast, or Anna Paquin coming back as Rogue, and
God, I hope not.
Hugh Jackman being Wolverine, which, let's be honest, at this point in his career, he's been doing it so long. Wolverine playing Hugh Jackman, and
Right.
I think that that they could be a little different, but the same, because you mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned on here tonight, but you mentioned to me before that the Hank McCoy that we got at the end of Marvels was not really the same version as the Fox version, other than it was Kelsey Grammer.
Right. Yeah, because
different.
Yeah, he looked different. He was CG. He was walking around completely different from either of the versions of Beast we got from the Fox movies, because it wasn't the Kelsey Grammer Beast from X-Men, The Last Stand, and it wasn't the Nicholas Hoult version of Beast from either First Class or any of the other ones when Bryan Singer ruined his look. I'll fight to the death. Beast from First Class is the best looking on-screen Beast until the Marvels. I love that CGI version of Beast from the Marvels. Looked amazing.
First Class is an amazing movie in general. The rest of them I could do without, honestly. I don't hate them, but I could do without. First Class is probably the best one, even if you add in the Foxes, to me.
Yeah.
To me.
First Class is my favorite of the X-Men movies.
Yeah, that's
still overall. It's the one I've watched the most of, even though I mean, you got to love X-Men. X-Men 2 is fantastic. I even love The Last Stand because we got Beast finally. But First Class, in my opinion, is the best one.
I do like, I'm not a fan of The Last Stand, really.
I understand why. Mainly it's not a good movie.
Mainly because my boy did absolutely fucking nothing.
All because they didn't want to work around his schedule. Yeah. Like, he wanted to come back, but he was doing other things. All they had to do was push around for a month and get him back. And no, wouldn't do it. Not changing our schedule for you.
No, we'll just make you broody at the end for no reason.
Yeah.
And then you're just going to randomly die.
Yep, for no reason. Just because.
No reason.
Stupid. But that's why I was talking about, I thought that this was so great in X-Men 97 that Cyclops had something to do, because we had 3 movies from the original Fox trilogy where he literally did not, like, he was not a good leader in the first movie. He was incapacitated through most of the second movie, where he was like mind controlled, and then the third movie he dies off screen, and then they don't bring him back again until Apocalypse, and it's like Ty Sheridan, and he doesn't do much, and then he has one other movie. So they've done Cyclops dirty for so long in live action. I'm excited to see what they do. And I think that's all of the questions that I had, because like I said, we're running a little long. Ian's tired. I'm tired. We both have to work in the morning. So I think we're going to wrap this episode up. Now, we are going to try and get back on a semi-regular schedule. We've got the Acolyte right now coming out currently. When we're planning on doing the first 4 episodes next week, I am caught up right now. I've watched the first 3 episodes. Surprise, surprise. I love it. Ian has not gotten to watch it yet, but he will hopefully be able to catch up, and we can do our first half of the series recap next week. So be looking out for that. Be on the lookout. Again, I'm going to say, if you're from the Southern Indiana area, or even the Northern Kentucky area, or even like the Southwestern Ohio area, because we're kind of right there in the middle of it, come and check us out at the Madison Six Theater. We're going to be making some big changes to that place, but right now we're just making sure that it's open, the lights are on, and the movies are playing. So come and check us out. And I think that's it. Check out all the links below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast version only, don't forget to rate and review us. Even though we only have been doing these once a month, we're going to get back to it, I promise. Thank you so much for being so patient with us over these last couple of months while we have been diving into this truly life-changing event. Please continue to be patient with us as we continue to try and sort out our incredibly different lives now as new business owners of a very old theater that we're trying not to have fall apart around us. So thank you again. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you watched X-Men 97, let us know what you thought about it in the comments. Let us know on our social media. If you haven't watched X-Men 97, I don't know why you watched or listened to this entire thing, but hey, thanks. So I'm going to cut this off before I ramble anymore, and we're going to go to bed. So for Ian, I have been Derek. This has been the Paperweight Entertainment Podcast, and we will see you next time.